Welcome everyone to this week's Mutant Meetup call. We've been holding these calls for the last couple weeks on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. UTC. Quite a few things to go over this week. We have a few different claim events that I want to cover. A couple things related to the custody covers. So we'll talk about Hodlnaut. I'll do a brief refresher on Celsius, and we can talk about the Bancor V3 claim, and then talk about the claims process in general, and happy to answer any questions about that process. I'll go through, if Hugh is able to join us, we'll hear from Hugh, and he'll give us his weekly core team update. If not, I can give a few brief updates there. And then I'll go through the cover sales over the last week, active coverage by cover type, and then I'll go over some of the governance updates. So I'll talk about Proposal 172, and I'll talk about the outcomes for the Snapshot votes that were voted on last week. So I'll jump into things, and I'll start by talking about Hodlnaut, Celsius, and the Bancor V3 claim that's live right now. So this week, quite a few things happened at the start of this week. Hodlnaut announced they were pausing withdrawals, and then we saw the news about Tornado Cash, and we saw quite a few things come through. So lots of questions this week about Hodlnaut custody cover. So I thought I'd just give an overview of where things are at, what the process is, and what the current liabilities are. As of yesterday, Hodlnaut announced that they were pausing withdrawals. I said they'd give their next update on the 19th. So at this point, custody cover section 1.2 kicks in. It's that protection that says that if withdrawals are prevented for a continuous period of 90 days or more where withdrawals were first halted during the cover period. So some folks have asked if they have cover now, but it expires, let's say, a couple days from now or a week from now or anything before that 90 days passes, are they still going to be able to file a claim? And the answer is yes on that. So your cover is active for after expiry. You can still file a claim for 120 days after expiry. So when that claim period passes, which I have a note on the bottom that if withdrawals are still halted as of the 7th of November, then we'll make an announcement about claims filing. But you'll be able to file a claim if you have a custody cover policy for Hodlnaut in this case. So I just have the time on when things were first, withdrawals were first halted. There's a total of 40 covers that were active when withdrawals were first halted. The liabilities between these two is 540 ETH and about 1.4 million DAI. This represents a little less than 1% of the capital pool. And I made an announcement about this as well. It's in the claims discussions channel. I think everyone here has likely seen that. And I've got a link to the cover wording and that section 1.2 as well. But just wanted to go over that. You can look on the Nexus tracker for yourself to look at the covers there. If you have an active cover and you have questions about that, feel free to just pop into the claims assessment channel and ask. You can tag me. I'm happy to answer any questions about that as well. But unfortunate to see another loss of event affect a custodial lender. But as we've seen here in the last several months, there's not a lot of transparency there, and there's been a lot of uncertainty about the health of some of these custodial lenders. So fortunately, those who had coverage should be able to file claims, and if withdrawals are still halted in 90 days, and I imagine they will be, then we can start the claims process. I just wanted to go over Celsius again too, since some time has passed here, and if withdrawals are still halted as of the 12th of September, we'll make an announcement regarding claims filing, but this is moving along as well. Worth noting on this, because this is the same instance of custody cover section 1.2. If withdrawals are still prevented as of the 12th of September, then claims can be filed. And just a note on with withdrawals were first halted. For this, we had 7 covers that were active when withdrawals were first halted. Total liabilities here, 98 ETH and 1,000 DAI. And this is a much smaller percentage of the capital pool, so 0.07%. But yeah, so we'll make an announcement about this. Any questions along this as well, happy to answer those in the claims assessment channel as well, or the claims discussions channel, I'm sorry. And then we had somebody that filed a claim for Bancor V3. So originally on the 19th, Bancor announced that they had paused their impermanent loss protection feature within Bancor V3. We made an announcement about this when this claim was filed. I've got the instant details queued up here, but you can see those in the Nexus D app as well if you want to review that claim. It's open for voting right now. And so this member who had a cover just said that they deposited link. When they went to withdraw, they took sizable hits, and their rationale is that this is a form of economic design failure. This is one, I think this one isn't as clear cut as some of the others, but I'm looking forward to, hearing what members' thoughts are on whether or not this is a qualified event. I think it is murky, but I could see arguments on both sides. So looking forward to people talking about this one. I highly recommend reviewing this and discussing this in the claims discussions channel, looking at it in the Nexus D app as well, and voting on that through claims assessment if you're inclined to do so. So I'll just go over the process very quickly, just as a reminder. So for claims assessment, for any kind of claim that you're filing, the voting period lasts for a minimum of 36 hours. So at that point, the vote is going to end if either there is 10 times the amount of NXM staked as the claim is. So if the claim is for 20 ETH, there would need to be 200 ETH worth of NXM voting on this claim, or that 72 hours has passed. Another important feature within this is that the voting outcome has to be both at or above 70% consensus among risk assessors, and the voting weight has to be greater, 5 times the cover amount or greater. So if the consensus is lower than 70%, or if the voting weight is less than 5 times the cover amount, then it would go to a full member vote. So essentially, this claims assessment process lasts for 3 days. If not enough claims assessors engage in voting, it goes to a full member vote, which lasts for about another 3 days. And at the end results, it's going to default either to the outcome from the previous claims assessment vote or from the full member vote, depending on the amount of votes that take place. But there's information on that in the docs that you can review. But I'll pause here real quick, and I'll just take any questions if anybody has any questions about the claims process or anything that I've covered so far. Okay, I think not, so I will continue on. So this is the part where typically Hugh would provide an update from the core team, but I don't believe he'll be able to join us today, so I can give a couple updates. So on our side, I know that the team has been focused on getting things lined up for the proposal 172, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, which is the allocation of ETH to Maple Finance via an integration. So getting the technical requirements set up to be able to put that up for votes. So that's been a main focus, still working on the developments with V2. At this point, it's just doing a lot of testing, firming up things after the audits were reviewed. So finishing up that process and working on the UI for V2, as well as a few other minor features. I'm working with somebody on the technical documentation for the V2 codebase, getting some of those resources ready as well. I'm also working on the docs, and we're working through a refresh for the Nexus Mutual website and a few other things. And that is the majority of what the engineering team is focused on. I know that the engineering team as well is focusing on hiring additional members. So I know that there's been quite a few interviews, and there'll be hopefully another Solidity developer or two that can join the team to help us build things out for V2, because there's a lot of technical requirements there, and having more developers would be a huge benefit to our engineering team, because they're very talented but smaller, and scaling up over time as we grow with V2 is really important. Those are the primary updates that I'm aware of. I'm sure if he was here, he'd probably talk a little bit about Hodlnaut and Celsius and some of that sentiment. I think otherwise, within the market, there's been quite a few things that have happened. Like I said, tornado, some of these custodial freezes. as well as other things happening like the Nomad bridge hack. And I know bridges are something that within the mutual we've talked about considerably, and there's still quite a bit of risk there, as we've seen with the number of bridge exploits that have happened this year. But all in all, I think we're making really good progress on V2, and the minute somebody tells me a date that we're launching, I will let everybody know. So yeah, those are the updates for the week that I'm aware of on the core team side of things. So if there's more from Hugh, I will pass that along in the newsletter that goes out tomorrow. But now I'll jump to the last week in cover sales, which all of this you can find in the Nexus tracker as well. So last week, from the 1st to the 7th of August, we sold about 23 million in cover. We brought in roughly 57,400 in premiums earned. The major cover policies we sold cover for were protocol cover policies, so Curve, Aave, Convex, mstable, and Nested. Nested, I believe, was topping up their coverage for their protocol, covering their TVL. And then we saw, various other ones, but not as heavy on the custodial cover buys this week as they have been previous weeks. The denomination was still primarily DAI. So across the board, roughly 80% DAI denomination and roughly 20% ETH denomination. But yeah, definitely increased cover sales this week versus the previous week. So nice to see growth there. And as time goes on, I think we'll continue to see growth as the market kind of improves if it continues on that track. And then I'll just go over active coverage by cover type briefly as well. I've been doing this for the last few weeks, and I feel like it's helpful to see what our exposure is over time. Active protocol cover policies, we've got 111,155.81 ETH of exposure across all of the policies. Enzyme V3 and Anchor we hit the largest liabilities there. And then from there, it's some of the same ones that we have pretty significant active cover on. Curve, Liquidity, Yeti Finance, Aave V2, Angle, Gnosis Safe, DYDX Perpetual, and then things start to slope off from there. Custody cover policies, we have roughly 22,813.64 ETH in active coverage across these. So the largest active coverage we have is on FTX, YieldApp, Nexo, and Crypto.com. Hodlnaut there is in 5th place, and then things kind of slope down from there as well. Yield token cover is 3,857.2 ETH. Here still predominantly we have the most coverage for the Convex 3 curve pool. And then of course the Yearn YV curve ST ETH V2. And then ETH2 staking is the same it's been previous weeks. It's just those stake-wise policies for 5,438 ETH. And then I'll just jump through a few quick governance updates. So these ones are pretty important. This first one is really exciting, and I encourage everyone to review this and vote on this. So Proposal 172 is the capital pool investment into Maple Finance via Enzyme. So if you go into the Nexus D app in the governance portal, you can vote on this. This is going to be active until Thursday at noon Eastern. Again, highly recommend everybody votes on this. This would allocate 15,348 ETH to Maven 11's WETH lending pool on Maple Finance. If this is approved, then we would transfer that amount of ETH into Enzyme via the integration that we have with Enzyme, and then that would be deposited into the WETH lending pool. So the development team has been working on this integration, as well as having this audited to make sure it's secure, testing it. Now that all of that's been done, this is up for votes. We'll track the price if this passes when we have assets in Maple and held in the Enzyme integration. Then we will track the price using Chainlink's proof of reserve, which would let us track the price of the WETH in the WETH pool that we're lending. So if you go on Maple's website and you look at the Maven 11 WETH lending pool, the current APY is 7.7%. When I looked at this yesterday, it was 3.98% in lending APY, and then the rest of it is Maple rewards. So Jack has a really great original forum post that's linked here as well that goes into the opportunity, some of the risks, and then this general recommendation. Maven, I know the Maven 11 team has had really great lending pools. I know there was the default on the orthogonal pool, but that is run by a separate organization running their own lending pool, and that was on a USDC lending pool. So the Maven 11 WETH lending pool and the Maven 11 USDC lending pools that I'm aware of don't have any defaults. They do a lot of due diligence when they're accepting lending capital from anybody, as well as anybody that is taking out loans from the Maven 11 pools. So this is a really important vote. Again, I encourage everyone to vote on this. I think by rough calculations, I was looking at it, and this would add per day at that 7.7% APY rate. I think it was like 3.98 ETH to the pool, and I could be slightly off on that, but that would be about the value we would be adding, which would be in addition to about 3.35 STETH we're adding to the pool every day. So this would add more productive assets to the capital pool, which is really important. And as time goes on, the Nexus investment group will look at some other potential allocations. There is one on the forum for StakeWise, and again, just some technical hurdles to overcome before we can put that up for a vote. But everybody should review this and vote on this because this is a big opportunity for the mutual. And then just a quick review of the Snapshot vote outcomes. We had these 3 proposals that were on Snapshot last week. All of them passed with unanimous approval. One of them was to replace Krugman as the Nexus Treasury multi-sig signer, or as one of them with myself. One of them was to give BootNode a grant to design an ERC 4626 compliant covered vault. And then the other one was for the Nexus Hubs V2 proposal and the funding for the next 6 months. So those all passed as well. Those are the updates I have for the week. At this point, it's an open forum. If anybody has any questions or there's anything that we didn't cover that somebody would like to bring up, feel free to ask any questions or speak up. Oh, yeah, I can't hear you again, Gautier. Okay, I see you're typing now. Oh, the info on when we're going to be depositing if this vote passes? Okay, so the vote ends on Thursday at noon Eastern, so there's a 24-hour cooldown period after a vote passes. That would take us to Friday around noon. At that point, those funds would be transferred into the Enzyme integration, and from there, the Enzyme team that I'm aware of would be depositing that into Maple. So I'm not firm on the timeline, but I would assume it would happen either Friday afternoon or it would happen probably Monday at the latest. And then Gaudier is running from an optimization perspective, would be great to wait 1 more month for the merge and proof of work fork. Oh, that is a good consideration. Yeah, I'll bring that up internally because I guess that's not something I thought about either. Yeah, I want to say that when the vote passes, I think that that ETH will be transferred to Enzyme automatically. But I can check in with the team and bring that up too. And is that something, Gautier, that you've brought up with Dopey? Okay. Yeah, I'll bring that up internally with the team and make them aware of that because that is a good point. I didn't think about that. But yeah, and I guess just a question for you, since you're tracking the ETH proof of work, is are there any custodians other than Polynex that have markets for this that have announced that they're going to be accepting ETH proof of work? Okay. All right, yeah. So just for clarity for those listening to the recording later, Gody brought up a good point. So P was saying if we waited one more month for the merge and proof of work fork, that we'd have that ETH in the capital pool. There's another proposal on the forum talking about um, taking advantage of any ETH that we get from the ETH proof of work fork, liquidating that, and then using that capital back on the proof of stake ETH network, adding that to the capital pool or the community fund, or really at this point determining what the community wants to do with those funds. As he's saying that ETH proof of work is priced at about 10% of ETH by the market right now, although that might change, of course. Um, but yeah, so that'll be another thing that we talk about a little bit more once we have some next steps on that form proposal. So, but yeah, Gautier, I'll connect with you on that, and then otherwise, I would say if you can remember that list, I think updating that on the forum as well as some of those markets that are available would be helpful as well when we kind of make some determinations about how we're moving forward with that proposal. But I will reach out to you and connect with you on that as well. But those, yeah, points. But yeah, other than that, anybody else have any questions, any things they want to bring up? Okay. If not, I can wrap things up this week. So, a very eventful week. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Um, Definitely a lot to go over. Keep an eye on the claims discussions channel for a review of the Bancor V3 claim when discussions start happening about that. Keep an eye on the forum. Everybody should vote on Proposal 172. Again, it's very, very important. But again, thank you for joining us. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day and a wonderful rest of their week. I will see you on the call next week. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to tag me in any of the channels within the Discord. I'll talk to everybody later.